तालिबुल दुनिया मुखन्नस व तालिबुल अक़बा मुअन्नस व हज़रत ऐनुल क़ुदत हमदानी क़ुद. So basically, that the person who's seeking the world is mukhannas, he's effeminate, and the one who's seeking the afterworld, he is muannas, is feminine. Wa Hazrat Ainul Qudat Hamdani Quddus Sirruhu mi farmayan, and Hazrat Ainul Qudat Hamdani says, God exalt his secret, um, make his secret holy. Dar dunya khurdan Ashamidan, Wadar Bahishnis Khurdan wa Ashamidan, like in the world eating and drinking, and in the heaven also eating and drinking. Um, and then Hasha wa Kullan, and then he prays for Hasha wa Kullan Khudai Ta'ala, Panahi Dahad as in Hardo, that eventually may God uh, prevent us from both of these in the end. Hazrat Makhdoom Sayyid Muhammad Gesu Darazmi Goyan, now he's back to the south. This is the Chishti saint post Amir Khusro generation who moved to the south. Um, that Hazrat Makhdoom Sayyid Muhammad Gesu Daraz says he's probably the sort of most important saint of the Deccan.
Yes.
Probably, right, Savita?
Yes. Yes. That's right.
So Hazrat Makhdoom Sayyid, I mean, I have never been, so I don't know the lived reality, but the textual knowledge only goes as far. Hazrat Makhdoom Sayyid Muhammad Gesudaraz Miguyan Latife, this is like a call, like a small, like a point of subtlety. Deenu dunya bayak jui na kharand, in chunin bul ajab harif anand. And this is the one that we spent a considerable time on
Yeah.
figuring out that uh, that deen and dunya cannot be bought or should not by with a grain of big jaw. I think here this is we decided that this is probably jaw because the dane jaw, like a grain of jaw, represents basically like power, you know, greed or food or something that is worthless, but also comes to connote like what you need for this world. In
Yes.
Junin Pulajaf Harifanan, and we these such are these strange so companions, yes.
It's like how strange that these two are alike in this way.
Right. In Junin Pulajaf Harifanan. Okay. Let's go. Wajaki Dastena Dash, Yani Talib Mola, and now he's come back to the one who did not have hands, and that is the Talib, that is the seeker of Lord. That Mushahide u Chunan Gharq Shude Bu, that he's so lost in the Mushahida of the Lord. Um, در طالب او چنان غرق شده بود و در استغراق رفته again like was lost. Istaghraq is from gharq also. I mean, but it's a station of being lost in absorption. कि
Yeah.
निस्बत खुद او در او نمانده بود. That his own relationship to his own self که نسبت خود و او در او نمانده بود که او را بر نسبت خود دسترس بود. That he basically lost his self and his own relationship or connection to the self, that he had no access to his own self. Like so, dastaras, like he's using the idiom of dastaras, which means accessibility, but literally comes from like dastarasidan, like the extension of the hand. You have something accessible. You have accessibility of something, but the idiom is literally to have the reach of the hand to it. So he's using that idiom, and it's a wonderful interpretation of it. That he has no dastaras to his home self, um, and thus no hands. Um, चिरा के वजूद उ तमाम वजूद महबूब गश्ते, because his whole being had become the being of the beloved. Pas inja nisbat wujud dast baru tuhmat nehadast. Uh, So therefore, um, tuhmat nehadanas. I see. So pas inja nisbate wujude dast baru tuhmat nehadanast. So therefore, to talk of the existence of his hand is to accuse him of something. Basically, because the hand does not exist, because his hand has become the Lord's hand. And I think this is probably also a subtle reference to that hadith Qudsi that becomes very important for the Sufis, with Ibn Arabi making it central, of course, that whenever my servant prays like these nawafil, like, not the required prayers, but the prayers that he prays out of his own volition, then I become his ears from which he hears, and I become the eyes with which he sees, and I become the hands with which he conducts business. So this transformation of the wujude u tamamim wujude mehboob gashte. So now that his hand or his whole being or his whole existence has become the existence, has been turned into the beloved, then therefore um, to ascribe a hand to him is accuse him of duality where there is none. Bait, a verse, gum shude chun saye andar aftab, lost like a shadow under sunlight, or yachu buye gul dar adzaye gulast, or like this fragrance of the rose um, that is contained in its various parts. Um, Nakalast, like again, he's quoting Rosie, that has been written or it has sort of been told. Khabar, Nakal, maqūla-i. Rosie Payambar sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that one day um, the Prophet, peace be upon him, ra kafiran qaid kar de, dar gardishan jame shude budan. That one day the Prophet had been captured by the kafirs and kafiran, and they were all gathered around him. Wahi rasid, like he received wahi, or from God, कि ए हबीब मन मुश्त खाक बेतरफ इन्हा अंदाज. A Habib man, that, oh my beloved, throw a fistful of dust towards them. Paighambar sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ham chunan kardan. Paighambar, the messenger, peace be upon him, did the same. Um, आब आन खाक dar chashme hame kafiran rasid, that dust was thrown into, like, reach the eyes of all those kafirs, kafiran, dar chashm malidan, um, um, and then they were all rubbing their eyes. Paighambar sallallahu alaihi wasallam as anja bayrun raftan. They were all rubbing their eyes, and then the Paighambar, the Prophet, left from there. Badar khatir mubarak an surur guzisht कि चे असर दर दस्ते manast. Now, this is a very interesting line. Like, this is almost blasphemous at some level, in the sense that the cosmology where, or not, I mean, this is, you don't see it so often, where he's ascribing an egotistical thought to the Prophet that is then corrected by God. Like, Dar khatir mubarak an surur guzisht ke che asar dar daste manast, that in the mind of the Prophet, he had like, he became, in sort of absorbed by this thought that what an effect is in my hand. Yak mushte khak bar chandin kafiran sarayat kart. That just one, a fistful of dust, was, went to, and it was absorbed in the eyes, or in so many of these kafiran. Dar Haman Saad, immediately at that time, Wahi Ahmad, God sent him another Wahi. Hey Muhammad,
Look, Graham's showing up.
oh Prophet. I mean, and this could, of course, he probably is drawing on Asbab Nuzul, So it would be interesting to trace this story, that what sources is he relying on? Like, he's not making this up. He's certainly relying on some exegetical sources, because now he's quoting the Quranic verse, and this story is referring to. Um, so, and it's Surah Anfal, right? कि वही आमद के ए मोहम्मद,
Maramito.
wait,
Maramita. Right here.
Ma ramito, can we go to the next line? Ma ramit, right. Wa ma ramaita is ramaita. Like, what?
Yeah. Idramita. You did not throw when you threw.
Right. I'm trying to see. Oh, is that lakin that he's written?
Yeah.
Lakin, right.
Like
Walakin, right. Walakin Allah rami. Um, I is it? Yeah, walakin Allah rami. Wa ma ramaita is ramaita walakin Allah rama. That, you did not throw it, but God threw it. Um, Yani an daste man bud na daste to. That is, it was
my
my
hand.
hand and not your hand. Tura in chunin quwwate kujast. Like, where do you have such power? कि यक मुश्ते खाक बर चंदीन काफिरान कार kunat, that like one hand fistful of dust will work on so many kafiran. Pas inja daste Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ra nafi kard. Um, so here the hand of the Prophet was then denied. Agarche zahir daste Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Bud yaki dast nadasht. Even though it was the hand of the Prophet, the yaki dast nadasht ki musannif gufte ast, the one who did not have hand, that the author has said, shayad ki ba'in mani bashad, is perhaps in this meaning. Hazrat Masood yak inja khush mi farmayad. Uh, I wonder if it is yak or some name. Hazrat Masood. Yak, it's probably yak. Like Hazrat Masood probably is referring to Masood Saad Salman Lahori, an earlier earlier 11th century, I think, writer and Sufi. Yak inja khush mi farmayad bait
Mehu.
महव कुश्ते से इश्क जानानम तू मरा मन मगू नमन आनम. That I am, um, I think it could both be Mehav Gashte and Kushte, because I mean Mehav Gashte is like I am lost, I've turned
Based.
into but from the love of the beloved, of my beloved, but it could also be that I am lost and killed from the love of the beloved. Tu mara man
Like
magu.
an erasure or effaced.
Yes, effaced. Tu mara man magu naman anam. Don't call me mean, because I am not that. Dar libase wujud u wast uh, bekar tuhmat. We need tuhmate behuda ast barjana.
Yeah.
So this is a useless accusation on myself or soul. Dar libase wujud uast, dar libase wujud uast bekar. Like, in the garb of being, it is he who is at work or she who is at work. Tuhmate behuda ast barjanam. Like, the fact, it is an accusation, unnecessary accusation, that I am the one acting. We see this theme again from the earlier parts, where this came up, of this discussion about like how um, the real will belongs to God. Was it? It was in one of these lines.
Yeah, it was right above.
Yeah.
Pretty similar language.
Very similar language in one of those. I don't think it was this particular line, but anyway, so that's sort of the overarching, I guess, theme of this.
I don't know. It's somewhere in there. Oops.
Yeah, it's fine. Let it. I found a very weird. Okay. این همه که گفته شد در صفت طالب مولا است که در خبر آمده است طالب المولا.
Yeah.
All of this that has been said is in the description or the characteristics of the one who is searching for the Lord, that it has been received, or like the khabar amadiyas that we've been heard in the news, or like basically from the tradition, कि talibul maula muzakkar, that the one who seeks the Lord is
Masculine.
masculine. It'd be interesting to explore this idea of like the um, masculine, particularly here. Anyway, so okay, qala. उन्होंने कोहरी गहरी गहरी खरी घड़ी तीन हांडी. Okay. उन्होंने घड़ी तीन हांडी. So this, I think the verb here is probably gharna, which means to make. Um, teen is three. Unoni is like basically it's a unhone, like they. The it's like a plural with a direct marker. Unhone ghani teen handi, like that they made three pots.
Mm.
Um, handi is the round pot
Oh.
in which you basically cook
Mm.
food. It's made out of clay. It's like the round clay Indian pot is called a handi. मानिए जाहिर आनस्त के आनहस से आवन साख्तन. So the apparent meaning is that the three of them made three um, vessels for food, and though Phuti, I think this is Phuti. This is a retroflex ta that he's representing with two dots, but it is Phuti, which means that they are broken. Do Phuti. Um,
I think that's right. Hang on. The line, I think this is out of order.
oh, I see.
Yeah. It's like, that's weird. Hang on, let me X this out. Don't put the, let's see, where is it? Here it is. Okay.
दो फूटी एक को पहना नहीं. So two were broken and one did not have a bottom. यानी दो शिकस्ते बूदन,
Okay.
two were broken,
Yeah. The key.
वयक वयकी tehna dasht, and one did not have the base. So now I'm sure they will cook something in it. The one did not have a base will be the one in which something will be cooked. मानीश चुनीन बाशद अस्से आवन साख्तन मुराद बे इबादान است.
Oh,
हाँ. So its meaning must be this, that from the three vessels, from the making of the three vessels, is meant the uh, worshippers or
acts of worship, I think.
ibad.
Yeah.
Ibadan. Ibadan.
Is it ibadan or ibadat?
Right. Ibadan. Hmm. Let's see what he says next. Maybe that will make it clear. यानी बराए पुख्तगी अजीन कार वसीले में बायद इबादत रा वसीले.
Oh, it's out of order.
I think we need to fix that.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Here we are. Inkar. Inkar. Is that inkar? Inkar sakte. Sakte.
Oh, is it the correct line?
Yeah, it's the correct one.
इनकार साख्तन चुनांचे बुजुर्गान गुफ्तन. Can we go back to?
Let's see. Let me see what line we're at. Line 15. Actually, I'm going to rearrange the lines real quick.
Okay.
Oh, what did I do? I want that. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So where are the... Oh, this is why. 12, 13. Yep, it's... Where is the line? So this should go above. Oh. Down here. I think. Did I do that right? Ah. This is not the most intuitive process.
No.
No, I messed it up.
You have to basically do it.
Where did I put it? Where did it end up? 12, 13. There it is. I want to put it below 18. This is going to take forever. I'll do this later. We'll just with the numbering though, we can see where we're supposed to be. So
Okay.
let's see, we were in like line 14. Okay. And we want what was the one before it? 13. Okay. Nope. Here we go. This is where we were. Ibadat. Ibadat yani barai.
Okay. So no, can we go to mani zahir anast do shikaste bun ve yaki tenadash mani chunin bashad asse avan sakhtan murad be ibadan ast. So from three
The making of three pots.
from the making of three pots, the purpose is, or like the
And meaning.
implied meaning is worshipping,
Yeah.
right?
Action.
यानी बराए पुख्तगी अजीनकार वसीले में बायत. So basically, for achieving maturity, it serves as a means to achieve maturity in this endeavor. Like यानी बराए पुख्तगी से इनकार वसीले में बायत, like wasila is a means. Ibadat ra wasile. So basically, worshipping needs a means, like a so you need a means to do ibadat.
Yeah.
And to achieve maturity in ibadat, yani barai pukhtagi, for maturity, darinkar ya azinkar from this. In order to achieve maturity from worship, you need a means. Ibadat ra wasile.
Wow. Here we go.
इबादत रे वसीले इनकार साख्तंद. So worship is the means of becoming mature. So ibadat ra wasile inkar sakhtan. So inkar, I think, is referring to maturity here, because like this work, what else could it be? Ibadat ra, that they made ibadat a wasile for this work to become mature. चुनाचे बुजुर्गान गुफ्तियान, therefore, as the elders have said, Bait, kar kun karo beguzar as guftar. Kar kun kar wa beguzar as guftar. So do work and pass beyond your speech. Like, don't just say things.
Don't
Just,
just talk. Yeah.
yeah, just do it. Just do it. That's where Nike got.
Yeah.
It's just like, mm. So do not say, but do. कि अंदरीन राह कार दारद कार. So that the purpose um, is achieved in this way of the work. So you can't just sit around and speculate. You have to worship. You can't just be reading this. You have to go pray. قال قال تعالى and then here is the, as God has said, the Lord high elevate, the high one has said, وَمَا خَلَقت, I think this is وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ
Ajay.
وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا
Alim.
يَعْبُدُونَ, that I did not create jinn. This is a very famous verse from, I think, Surah Zurriyat, that I did not create the jinns and the humans except to worship me. जिंदगी महज
I don't think this is the right. No,
आज
it's
बराए बंदगी
yeah,
است.
this is it. This is it.
व मालूम हमें कसस्त खुदाए ताला आदमियान रा की इबादत फरमूदे ना बराए नफ़े खुद बल्कि बराए पुख्तगी शान फरमूदे است. So, and it's obvious to everyone, मालूम हमें कसस्त Khudai Ta'ala Adamiyan Ra, that that the God has Adamiyan Ra ki ibadat farmude na barai na fe khud, that God has basically commanded or created Adamites or human beings for worship and not for their self gain. ना बराए नफ़े खुद बल्कि बराए पुख्तगी ईशान फरमूद है. So it's in, but it is for their maturity, and I think this is the again maturity and turning into a the insani kamil that we've
I
been
wonder, the nafa ehud is in reference to God. So worship is not to like provide God with benefit because he doesn't need it, right?
ना बराए नफ़ा खुद बल्कि बराए पुख्तगी शान फरमूदे. I see. खुदाई ताला आदमियान रा की इबादत फरमूदे, that when basically, yes, I think you're right, Jonathan, that basically that God, when he has asked human beings to worship, it is not for his own gain, but for
There
their
are like, yeah, mature.
maturity. Right. Here's a verse again.
Right, like,
Zin,
ah, sorry.
oh, it's okay. Yes, जिंदगी महज बराए बंदगी است, जिंदगी भी बंदगी शर्मिंदगी. Well, they've missed the us here, but that the life is except for bondage to God, and life without bondage is um, is embarrassment and shameful. Um, Wanese Buzurgan Guftayan, then, and the Buzurgan and the elders have further said, कि हर बंदे न शुद्ध आजाद न गश्त. हर बंदे, no, no,
Here we go.
yes.
Yeah, that's it.
कि हर बंदे न शुद्ध आजाद न गश्त. No, this is not
No,
it.
it's not. Yeah, you're right. Here we
Yeah,
go.
कि हर बंदे न शुद्ध आजाद न गश्त व हम चुनीन नीज गोयंद कि हर के आजाद न गश्त बंदे न शुद्ध. कि the elders have said कि हर के बंदे न शुद्ध, anybody who did not become a slave, आजाद न गश्त, did not become free. व हम चुनीन नीज गोयंद, and Similarly, is also they say more कि हर के आजाद ना कष्ट बंदे ना शुद्ध. The one who was not become he did not become free, did not become a slave. So it's like the idea of becoming a slave of God by choice and then just freeing yourself from everything worldly and freeing yourself from everything worldly and thus becoming a slave of God.
As
It's
Bob Dylan says, you got to serve somebody.
yes. यानी हर के अजमा सिवा आजाद न शुद बंदाए हक न गश्त, which is, I guess, saying the same thing. That is that everybody who from everything was not freed did not become the slave of truth or God. Mani zahiranast.
Not so I think like everything other than
Yes,
God.
Masava. Everything other than.
Oops.
Azad, that was it. Bande Haq Nagash did not become a slave or Bande. I mean, Bande, of course, literally slave, but it is understood like in a much more, like it does not immediately have that kind of same connotation that a slave does in English. Of course, Bande Khuda is like, a person, a Hakir, like a person who's devoted to God. Essentially, of course, it does mean Bande. So it's a translation of Abd, um,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Um, and which is the root of ibadat. So here we're seeing that translation, which is the standard. Of course, there's tons of philosophical discourse about what it literally means, and especially on this verse, which becomes the foundational verse for exegetical question about what is the purpose of life, and then becomes even in political philosophy, like people like Maududi take it and they expand like ibadat into worship and love and atat and like and and then from it draw a whole political ideology of establishing a political dominion where people can be forced to do this. So there's all sorts of interesting exegetical glosses on this verse. Um, Basically, which are exegetical glosses on ibadat. And here we see one of them, bandegi. Um, Mani zahir anas, do shikaste budan.
Finally,
So the apparent
finally
meaning,
find out what the two broken.
yes, that the two broken, yani ibadat talib dunya wa talib aqba. हर चंद जाहिरन सूरत इबादत बूद. I'm just reading from another that
Oh no, Susan.
Kimani Zahira and Ast, that the two who were broken, that is the worship of the one who is seeking the world and seeking the afterlife, even though apparently it looks like ibadat. And then we go to the next line or next page rather. Lekin chun darane baat. So yeah, I think this is fine. We can just read it here.
Sorry.
All right.
Gotta refresh the page. Okay.
We have a lot of silence from.
I was just listening to and thinking about the ibadat political ideology that you were talking about, which is interesting. So I was trying to Google
Hmm.
about that. So
Well, that's basically contained in this short book by Maududi. Um, what's the name? I'm forgetting the title. And then there's a very wonderful critique of it by Wahiduddin Khan, which called like tabir ki ghalti, the mistake of interpretation, and it's basically he says that he inverts. So it's Maududi's Quran ki char bunyadi istilahein, like the four fundamental concepts of the Quran, and then Maulana Wahiduddin Khan like critiqued it and basically said that he inverted the whole idea of ibadat on its head, because basically what he said that in for Maududi, ibadat contained like worship, love, and ataat, like following the command. And then of course he uses the patriarchal idiom of a husband and a wife, and how a wife must obey the husband, and that is how human souls must obey the Lord. But for him, what he says is like obedience come first, then worship, and then love follows. So you
Mm.
have to first obey even if you don't have love, and then you
Mm.
have to worship even if you don't, like, that's the thing, and then love will develop. And then Wahiduddin Khan says like this is ridiculous. It,
Right.
it's inverting on its head, because like you have to have love first, and from love you worship, and from there you also develop like the desire to do what the Lord pleases you to do, or whoever you love. um, and so it was a long debate, and Wahiduddin Khan was of course um, the famous I mean he died recently in 2021 actually. um, and a very prominent figure in India.
Mm.
Um,
The
in
people who died. This is not related at all. But did you see Zakir Hussain
Is the
in
tabla
Tabla
means, yeah, he
a
just
couple
passed
years ago?
away.
what,
Yeah.
Zakir Hussain passed away?
Yeah,
Yes,
like today.
15th night, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I got to see him once. He played with the banjoist Bella Fleck. They did a tour
Mm.
years ago, and I got to see him when they came through Knoxville, Tennessee, and it was amazing. It's just like it's
Right.
unbelievable like what he was
Oh,
able to
yeah.
do with his hands. Anyway,
Yeah, he was a genius.
yeah.
Yes.
There's a story about him that he writes in his autobiography that I was just reading. Somebody had posted it on 2 days ago, how his father had always prevented him from going to this shrine of a Malang Baba, and where his mom always used to go and not go without him. But he went any day, anyway, and then he started like playing tabla there, and then this buzurg came and taught him a tune. And then he used to learn from his father, Zakir Hussain. So when he came back and he told his father, who was very upset about it, but then he played his father that tune, and his father became very silent. And he was like strolling in the room, and he asked him to play that tune again. And he played it again, and he said that, where did you learn this? Because this is a very old tune that only I know, and I've learned it from someone. And how do you know this? And he said, well, this is a person, like there's this Buzurg who came, Malang, and he told me this. He's like, what did he look like? And he said, well, this is how he looked like. He was wearing this colored turban, and he was wearing this tunic, and this and that. And then his father said, well, that is the Hulye of the Malang Buzurg's shrine that you were describing, and it was his composition. It seems like he himself came and taught you this.
Oh my God.
And so, and Zakir Hussain says that I never tell this story because it seems unbelievable to people, but this is what happened to me. So,
That would explain his
yeah,
talent.
yep,
He
that
was
would explain it. Yeah.
might be maybe like the greatest musician I've ever seen perform live
Yeah.
that I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a South Indian mandolin Srinivasan. He passed away. I mean, he played the mandolin and he passed away really early. I've only witnessed him once on stage, but
Who?
that mandolin Srinivas.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Mm.
He's-
Yeah. But just coming back to what you were saying, like I think a lot of what of this ibadat and the idea of the domestic space as an analogy, and the idea of surrender and being a slave, it's quite common to what was happening like medieval to early modern bhakti movements. I think like all of the Sri Vaishnavite movements in South India have this very vigorous attachment to the idea of being the slave to God.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So there's this book by this scholar Manu Devadevan, prehistory of Hinduism, and it's like it traces this kind of origin and touches upon like the Islamic influence in southern Karnataka in the philosophy that develops in their bhakti movement in the early modern period, which is a kind of change, and what I mean commonly is thought of as a Protestant kind of idea influencing, but I think it's much more than that. So the debates that you were talking about is really interesting.
Those
Um,
debates are very, I mean, the ones that I mentioned are actually very modern because, like, Maududi and Wahiduddin Khan, this is happening in mid 20th century.
right.
Um,
But I think they have an early modern kind of connotation because there is some amount of uh, what Manu Devadevan calls it, the ethics of enterprise, pushing against the orthodoxy of
right.
just surrendering to God.
I think, yeah, there is some certainly I think there what is happening here. I haven't read that book. I thank you for telling me. I would love to read that book. But um, and it seems to me from my sort of engagement with that the idea of love then gets transposed. Like first, it is like the idea of love that becomes like you cannot basically be close to God without love, and that is the only thing that will sort of save you from the drudgery of life. But then that love becomes transport to and translated into uh, metaphors of the domestic and the everyday when this discourse, which is very high discourse, gets translated into popular discourse through vernacular writing and these movements in the Bhakti movement that starts, like the second millennium, mid second millennium, sort of, where you see the Nath Yogi and other various different traditions interacting. But central to it, I think, is the idea of love, which is probably also Wahiduddin Khan's critique, like you're inverting. When you take the love out, there's nothing left out of the domestic metaphor and the understanding of it. So Shudipto Kaviraj, who's very interested in this, he also has this theory. He says that this is a particularly Islamic influence on like sort of the pre-Bhakti Islamic, the bringing of the love as a way of transcending, rather than asceticism, basically love being the transcending ladder.
Hmm.
Is but is sort of when you see emerging from 10th 11th post Islam in India, the post
Right.
Islamic,
That's
which
always struck me. The Bhakti, like you see the Bhakti movement in India, it's roughly contemporary with a lot of kind of devotional movements across the world.
yeah.
Don't have any clear, like they're not, there's clearly no like strong links of like influence or causality. There's something else about like the late medieval to early modern world. I don't know what, but you see like the Devotio Moderna in Europe and like the kind of pre-Protestant and Pietist stuff. Like they
Mm,
all have there's this seems to be this kind of common thread of like love and devotion and I don't know, something going on.
yeah, I think
Mm.
it's
In the water, maybe.
the end, huh? Something in the water.
Or in the atmosphere rather. Because it is a global phenomenon.
It's
But
true.
anyway.
Anyway, okay. um
Oh, I was gonna ask pot like for potting, like making pots. Is that something that would be like primarily a woman's task, or is it a masculine coded task? Does it have a like gendered aspect in this
Uh,
world?
I think there is definitely a caste aspect to it that I know of.
yeah,
And of course, there's women's role in each caste, but yeah, there is a particular caste associated with making pots. So
Okay.
that's how I kind of have, and that's my knowledge of it.
right.
Like, yeah, in Kwashuan is what we call it in South, and in North India, it's the Kumhar, I think.
Yes, Kumar.
Oh, interesting.
That's why, I mean, because like, of course, like the castes are by profession, um, like the butchers, the leather workers, the shoemakers slash leather workers, the potters, and so on and so forth. But it's not necessary. It's not gendered in that way.
Okay.
It's more by profession. But here, I don't think there is a implication um, of any sort of like in terms of like I don't think this is a limiting factor here.
Okay. I was just wondering because since we did have explicit like mention of gender in the previous section,
Right. No,
there's
no,
something going on in terms of the like domestic sphere or whatever. With the,
no,
uh,
no. Because yeah, because I mean they were all three of them. They were all Kumhar, right? So um in that sense, like within those three of the same caste or the same profession, you have the effeminate, the feminine, and the masculine. Okay.
all right. Let's see. The broken and the bottom. Sorry.
What was the previous line? I've forgotten.
Let's see. Let me go back. We got to the explanation of what the broken pot was. Ibadati.
दो शिकस्ते बूदन, like the two were broken, यानी इबादत तालिब दुनिया और तालिब अक़बा, that is the worship of the one who's seeking the world and the worship of the one who's seeking the afterworld, even though apparently is in the form of worship. हर
Yeah.
चंद ज़ाहिरन सूरत इबादत بود.
They both are just the mere, the form, the
Right.
formality.
लेकिन चून दरान इबादत हुसूल हक ना بود, but because in that worship there is no seeking of the truth or Lord or God, शिकस्ते बूदन, they were broken.
So okay, that makes sense.
It reminds me of the famous Rabia story, of course, that when she's running with a jug of water in one hand and a brazier of fire in another, and um, I think it's Hassan al-Basri who asks, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I want to, um, light the um, heaven on fire and
Without the flames of hell.
yes, so that nobody worships God for that, or nobody worships for that purpose."
Yeah.
Um, Chira ki buzurgi farmude ast, as an elder has said, uh, farmude ast, be masjidi ke na neem jamal, be masjidi ke na neem jamal dil bare khish. بهان سجد کنم بر زمین زنم سر خویش. به مسجدی که نه نیم. What is the name here?
I don't know. K
Naim,
N
neem.
A that
Be masjidi. So let's start with the second line. Bahane sajde kunam bar zameen zanam sare khish. That it's an excuse to prostrate and put my head on the zameen. Be masjidi ke naneem jamal dil bar khish. Neem is throwing me off. Bahane is like this, like, you just find an excuse. Sajde konam to basically I prostrate, bar zameen, like on um, bahane sajde konam bar zameen zanam, like to hit your, or basically put my head, sare khish, my own, khish is like my own,
Mm.
uh, بمسجدي. Is it, can you go to the, is it na, is it some na,
It's like, is it
binam?
Nahim?
Na binam?
Nahim? Ne?
Uh, is it na binam, maybe?
Yeah, it seems like it. But the dot with for B is not
Yeah, I mean
there.
the dot for the Z is the Zameen is also missing,
Mm,
right? So it,
probably Nebina. Is that?
yeah, bimasjidi.
Mm.
I mean, it could also be like even neem, like it not even half of the beauty
Yeah.
of my beloved. Like bimasjidi ke na
Neem Jamal.
jamal dilbare khish, that in the that there's not even a glimpse of the beauty of my beloved.
No, that kind of makes sense.
Right? In the mosque where I do not see even a glimpse of the beauty of the beloved, like neem. Uh, Bahane sajde kunam bar zameen sarzanam sarki. So I think that makes sense that I make an excuse to prostrate and bow my head to the ground. It's like I don't really care about prostrating in the masjid because I don't even see half the beauty of the beloved here. So I have to, I make an excuse to prostrate and bow my head to the ground. चून तोरा बेदीदम ए शम तराज um, नए कारकुनम न रोजे दारम नए कारकुनम न रोजे दारम what's the next line न
Ne-
नमाज गरबतो बूदम
Batu Buddha with you I am. What is this? Mujaz?
मजाज
Mujaz?
बतो बूदम
Iman?
मजाज मन
Yeah, I think so. Mujaz Iman. Jumla Niyaz.
Mm.
Oh, and that's it.
Yeah.
चून तोरा बेदीदम ए शम
It's,
तराज
the meme is really long there. Majaz, or is it like sin, or
no I
Yep.
think it's majaz like
Metaphor.
like the metaphoric beauty, like the
Mm,
embodied beauty. I think so. Chun tura bididam esham taraz
Majaz Iman Jumla Niyaz?
ni khar konam na roze daram.
So,
What not
make any sense
what's
to me?
that like?
Uh, ne, namaz.
Ne khar konam na roze daram na namaz garbato budam majaziman.
Hmm.
Majaziman jumle niyaz.
Majaz
I
Iman
see
Jumla
all of
Niyaz?
my need. So naqalist Rosie Mehtar Isa salatu wassalam. Oh, so it's just 3 lines.
Yeah, it
Mm,
stops, not least.
not least.
Yeah, that moves on to something else.
What does that mean?
Like when
It is related. It says something, a story about Isa. What?
so Chun tura bedidam esham mein taraz, which is clear that when I saw you, esham mein taraz, oh beautiful candle or oh ornament or decorated, you know, uh, Shamme taraz, like the beautifully adorned candle or the radiant one. Ne kar kunam na rozedaram na namaz. I know I do not work, I neither fast nor I pray. I think it's continuing from the previous one, right? Like be masjidi ke naneem jamal dil bari khish bahane sajde kunam bar zameen zanam sarkhish chun tura be didam ay shamme taraz ne kar kunam na rozedaram na namaz. And then garbato budam majaz majaz. Can we go to the next line? Yes. Garbato budam majaziman jumle niyaz. That if I were with you, uh, majaziman, I think here it probably means like the embodied beauty of, it's like the haqiqi and the majazi. So haqiqi is the real, and majazi is one that is embodied or the metaphoric. Like the majaz is not the ishq majazi is the one, the beloved that is actually embodied and is real and is present, and then ishq haqiqi is what the majaz points out to, because the majaz is a metaphor for or a sign about something that is beyond, right, which is what you go and worship in the masjid because you can't see, but majaz is the embodied beloved, like the sanam, the idol. So garbato budam majaz man jumle niyaz. So I think I'm reading it as majaz man, that if I were with you, oh my beloved, like oh my
Yeah,
embodied
that makes sense.
or metaphoric beloved, jumle niyaz. That that's all I need. Like jumle is all entirely, and need is niyaz. Like niyaz is like need or longing. Um, so if I'm with you, um, oh my embodied metaphoric beloved, then
Yeah.
all my need is
Mystical beloved.
left. It's like is it's fulfilled, or it's a still you are all my need.
Yeah.
Majaz iman jumle as like you are all I need. Garbatu budam. Then I so it seems like something is missing here.
Mhm. There should be a verb.
There should be a fourth line, right? It's
Yeah.
like 5 lines of poetry. It's like 3 lines of poetry because taraz, namaz, niyaz. Where's the fourth? All right, let's move on, I think.
Well, let's just do a couple more lines.
We have very similar, majaz in Ottoman poetry too.
Yeah, it's the same in all Islamic poetry. That's like a very fundamental
Mhm.
idiom, majaz. Oh, look who is here
The last 5 minutes.
for the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
Naqalis, it's sort of reported. Rosie, one day, Mehtar, Isa, salatu alaihi wassalam, that,
Mm.
Hazrat Isa, one day, God's blessing and peace be upon him. Sair Kardan was roaming around, um, so that, okay. Jamati Didan, he saw a group of people. Lagar Shude was Zaru Nazar Gashte, that who were weak and, had been uh, like made helpless and weak, that who had sort of been defeated in something. Um, Pursidan ke lagar ye shuma barai cheez, that what is this, that your weakness is for what, like that their frailty, your misery, uh, what is it for? Guftan astar se dozakh, that it is from the fear of hell. Farmudan, he said, makhluqand, makhluq,
Uh,
makhluqando wa
uh,
az.
what?
Let's go to the next line. مخلوقاً و از مخلوق میترسند و از آنجا بیشتر that they are creations and they're afraid of creation. So the hell, I probably he's implying is a created
Yeah,
thing,
it's a
of course.
makhluk. Yeah.
Makhluk, it's not, hell, God creates hell. It's not eternal, like God itself. وَأَزْ آنجا بیشتر گذشتند جماعتی را همچنان دیدند پرسیدند لاغر شما برای چیز جواب دادند برای بهشت. So So from there, more people pass, like a whole group, and he also saw them and asked them that what is your weakness for? And they said it is for heaven. Farmudan makhlukan was makhluk mitarsan. That they are was makhluk umidwar, that they are creation and they have their hopes in in something that is created. As Anja Nees Guzashtan, and then there were more Jamati, Guzashtan Jamati, another group of people passed from there. Raham Chunan Didan, Pursidan, Lagari Shomas cheese. And he saw them and he asked them too that what is your like weakness and frailty and misery and grief from? Guftan, they said, as baraye Maula, that it is for the Lord from being separated from the Lord, or it is in the seeking of the Lord. Hazrat Isa, Salatullah alayh, Hazrat Isa, may God's blessings be upon him. Baad, Guftan, Baad Shumara, Mara knees. Baad Shumara. Let's go to the next line and see what is that about.
Not super clear. Hikmat.
Hikmat Dareen Jamaat, Bishustan. बाद बाद शुमार हमारा नीज हिकमत दरीन जमात. Huh.
What? The body to your band is also ours. No. What?
Are we reading it correctly? Is this?
I think so. Okay. The aid of God.
बाद शुमारा,
Let it oh.
like
Like let it be to you as well
yeah,
as to me,
yeah.
I guess.
बाद शुमारा mara knees. Let it
Yeah.
let it be exactly. It's like a subjunctive.
It's
To you
agreed.
and to us also.
Yeah.
Hikmat dareen jamaat bishustan is like, but
Shasta. What does that mean?
बाद शुमारा Mara needs hikmat dar in jamaat bishustan. Like, may wisdom wash you and us too in this group of people. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I can think of. Like, may wisdom wash over you and us too in this group. Hikmat dar in jamaat bishustan.
Hikmat here comes from the judgment.
Oh, so the wisdom from this group, may it wash over you and us also. Right?
Maybe.
Yeah. I think because that's the one, because for the other two, he said that they are not Hakim, that they don't have the hikmat, but this one. So may wisdom wash you and us too from this or in this group of people. Let's read, maybe we'll understand the next line from the next line.
He moves on.
Mani zahir anast, yaki tehnadast. So the apparent meaning is that the one that did not have the base, murad as teh guftan, shayad ki murad as teh tahat bashad. So his implication or meaning from saying the base is that is the tehet bashad. So the base of यानी तालिब मौला उरूज दर उरूज است ना दर नुजूल व मुराद मुराद दीन दुनिया हमें दर तहत लेट्स गो मुराद दीन दुनिया हमें दर तहत उ است. So it's like the lower part of, I mean, tehet is under, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. That.
tehet, like the concept of the bottom.
Yeah, it's like
It's like the under, the bottom of the under.
yeah.
Or is it something
I think
else?
that's ta.
Oh, murad as tehet bashad.
Yeah, it just means the under, yeah, the bottom part, the under part.
No, but basically here it's probably in the implied sense of like the metaphorical context of tehete tasir, like under the influence, tehete, uh, like when you are under, like beneath or below something, you are sort of overtaken by it, like under the influence of something. Tehete asar. Uh, there was also the um I think there was another place where he used this word. Um, wasn't it like Tehta Surah from Surah Taha? Lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ardi wa ma bainahuma wa ma tahta surah. But that was under the earth. Um,
And also it's the under is missing. It's not there. Right.
right.
There is no under. It's weird.
Happy holidays, Savita. No worries.
Yeah, we need to go.
There's no
It's
slow.
lunchtime.
Yeah, this is we'll come back to this.
Maybe this might take some unpacking. So
Yeah. मुराद अस तहत बाशद यानी तालिब मौला उरूज दर उरूज است ना दर nuzul. So okay, so the one who's seeking the Lord is basically going up. He does not need a base.
yes,
He does not
yeah,
need, right?
doesn't
He
need
does
an
not
under.
need to be under. He does not need anything under. He needs um
Nuzul.
it's going up. Dar nuzul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Uruj.
व मुराद दीनो दुनिया हमें दर तहत. What's the next line?
It's like they're everything that's under.
हमें दर तहत उस्त व हर गर अहम व हर केरा हिम्मत जुज उस्त उ दर नुजूल است. I see. के दीन व मुराद दीन दुनिया हमें दर तहत उस्त. That everything is under the influence of the heaven of deen and dunya. व हर केरा हिम्मत जुज उस्त दर नुजूल در او در نزول است اگرچه بر آسمان باشد. دیگر شاید که ته نداشت گفتن مراد این باشد یعنی حجاب بشریت که سخت ترین حجاب هاست آن نداشت. This is okay. This needs unpacking. My brain is too fried for that right
Yeah,
now.
we can stop here. This is good.
It's intense. Ugh.